Today's program will feature a non-for-profit foundation that provides free food, clothing, and household items to individuals and families struggling to make ends meet in McHenry, Lake counties, and beyond. But that's not all. They work to help people realize that even in times of need, each person possesses something to share that can help others in the same situation they're in. Their goal is not to make people the project, but part of the family. Stay tuned to hear more about Faith Acres Foundation. Welcome to the Everlasting Love Program. I'm your host, Barbara Karpuzian, and as always, I am so glad that you decided to join us. You know, we want you to know that God loves you with an everlasting love. You know, the Bible says that God's love is high, and it's wide, and it's deep. That's how much He loves us, and that He wants to draw you to Himself with His loving kindness. During the course of the program, you'll have an opportunity to see our YouTube channel up on the screen, as well as our Facebook page. We would love for you to visit us and perhaps watch some of the archived programs. If you're looking for a good church, if there's someone that you would like to pray with you, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll do our best to get back in touch with you. I want you to know that today's program is actually part two of a two-part program that we're doing on a ministry called Faith Acres Foundation. And if you haven't had a chance to watch part one, I really want to encourage you to do that. You're going to hear a powerful testimony from Jody and her husband Jeff, who are the founders of that foundation. But stay tuned for what you're going to hear today, because the guests on my show today are actually both volunteers and have experienced the love and blessing of that foundation. And also, I hope that you enjoyed the Faith Walk story that you heard at the beginning of the program, and you're actually going to hear more of those. So Jody, welcome back. I just feel like, you know, you're my long lost friend that I haven't seen in a while, and it's good to be doing this show with you, and you're such a blessing to the body of Christ and to those who don't know Him. So this is Jody Clough, who's joining us for part two of the program. And Jody, we heard a little bit at the beginning about what Faith Acres does, but can you kind of give us a capsule version for the listening audience of what your ministry does?
Okay, we help you help others in need through prayer, relationships, health, and finances. If you think about anybody that you know is struggling in an area, it's usually going to fall into the relationships, health, or finances. And literally how we even came up with that is, I remember being in a board meeting at a local church. It's a true story. And or Jeff and I, we also wanted to do things, and it wasn't just like the mission. It didn't kind of fit into the mission of what maybe that particular organization or they want to do. And I said, Jeff, if I'm ever going to be in a board meeting, okay, and there's a possibility that we can help someone, and someone tells us no because it's not our mission, prayer, relationships, health, and finances pretty much encapsulates the world, so nobody's going to tell us no. And it was funny because that's been one of the arguments in the board meeting. This is too broad, but the crazy thing is you never know who God's going to bring your way today. And we have an incredible God with amazing amounts of resources. And God just didn't say to him, you know, Jesus didn't say, I'm sorry, I can't help you right now. It's not my agenda. Okay,
That's
so
right. So if you can't do it, you can certainly connect them with someone who can.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Coming from a counseling background, I love the holistic approach, right? Because you can't just minister to a part, you have to minister to the entire part, the entire person, right? So I appreciate you saying that. Well, so what's different about this program, part 2, is that your husband isn't here. And they were so cute too. They were just like holding hands the whole time. But with us on the program are Cassie and Liz. Welcome to the program, ladies.
Thank
and I understand that you're going to tell us a little bit about your faith walk and how you have connected to Faith Acres. So, Cassie, I'm going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about your faith walk.
Well, my mom actually told me about Jesus when I was around 6 years old, I'd like to guess. And she led me in a prayer of salvation. But it wasn't until I was a teenager that I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. So through a mutual friend of Jody and mine, Kelly, I just saw her living out her life with such joy, and I couldn't understand why she was so happy. She would come to work whistling and just so joyful, and I thought, why is she so happy? Who even whistles? I don't know anyone like that. But I knew that I was not happy in my life, in my search for happiness, and that I wanted what she had. And so she told me about her faith in Jesus Christ. I could relate, but I still could sense that I didn't have everything she had. So we started to hang out. I started to attend church with her, and in worship service one day, I just remember completely surrendering myself to Jesus and saying, I'm trying to live my life. It's not working. I'm not happy. The things that I've chosen, whether it's drugs, alcohol, and partying, and just what I thought would lead to fun and happiness at my young age, it wasn't fulfilling me. And so I just gave him permission. I gave the whole thing over and said, do what you want with my life. And from that very day, I could sense the difference inside of me. I had joy, peace, and happiness, true happiness, because Jesus Christ had come to live inside of me, and he's never left me since. So
Yeah. That's so good, because there are a lot of young girls out there that really need to hear what you just said, Cassie. And and what's so neat about it is that it's this kind of divine interaction, right? Like you just said, something changed, right? So nobody did anything to you, nobody forced you, nobody imposed themselves on you, but something happened inside. And I think a lot of young girls need to hear what you just said, right? Like you couldn't find it in the world, but you found it in Christ.
Yes.
Yeah, really powerful.
Thank you.
And so did you, what happened after that?
After that, I started to be discipled by our friend Kelly, and she soon brought me to the Close House for a Bible study. And so we were learning God's Word together, and it was from there, Jody just never let me go. So I appreciate their presence in my life, because my mentor wound up leaving state and hasn't been involved for many years, but Jody checked in on me, and she's just kind of been an advocate in my life. So I came into a season when I actually had a high school, after high school, I had a teenage pregnancy. And this was after I became a Christian, but I was wooed by a very handsome young man who was very, I guess, persuasive. And I fell in love with him. He did not know the Lord, but through a series of events, he did come to have faith in Jesus Christ. Well, I was pregnant soon after we started our relationship, and when he did convert to Christianity, we didn't get married right away, so we didn't live together. And my mom wound up moving out of state. And so I was with a 1.5-year-old baby, wasn't married yet. We were working that out, and I didn't have anywhere to go. And Jody called me one day and said, we would really like it, Jeff and I would really like for you and the baby to come and stay with us
Yeah,
in our home.
this is great.
It was so great, and I couldn't
great.
believe it. You
How
know?
old were you then?
Well, I must have been at least 20.
Okay. Okay.
And I just, I was joyful, so happy the Lord provided a place for me to live with my son. But when it was the day to move in, I just remember Jeff had come with his trailer to put all of my belongings and take them to their home. And I followed behind in my vehicle, and I just couldn't understand what was possessing them. Why did they want? Why were they so ready and willing to, you know, bring me into their home and my child and all of my stuff?
Yeah.
And I felt so unworthy, but I was so thankful. And it just reminded me of what Jesus Christ does for us.
Yes.
Because he just comes and receives us and accepts us as we are. All of our past failures and baggage and
Yes.
all our stuff
Yes.
that we carry with us. And we don't have anything to offer him. We really don't
That's
have
right.
anything in the deal. But he receives us to himself, and it was a picture of that to me.
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
received that, and I'm so thankful.
That's great. That's great. Well, I had a Jody and Jeff in my life. They were a Bonnie and Diane. So I really, and I lived in a woman's home. I was married, but for 6 months lived in a woman's home. And there's a whole story that ensues, and that's another program and another time.
Love to hear it.
But I can really relate, because sometimes when people see us sitting in this position, they think, oh, these people got it all together. But thank God for the God story and the faith walk and God's love towards us. He loved us even while we were yet sinners, right?
Right.
And so, Liz, what about you? Tell us some of your story.
So I was raised in a Christian home. I went to a Christian school. Anytime the doors were open, we were at church. So I grew up, you know, memorizing scripture, knowing the books of the Bible, winning every sword drill we ever had.
Sure.
Going to camp, knowing all the answers, you know, but it wasn't personal. And I'd go to camp and I would feel drawn, but I never really made a commitment that changed me. And I guess I always thought, you know, I believe in Jesus, and so that's good. I'm going to get to heaven because I believe in Jesus, and I believe all of it. But I never surrendered to Him. And getting into high school, I wanted to be cool, and I made some choices that completely altered the course of my life. Just one bad mistake after another, drugs and partying and you name it, and I was basically doing it. And it wasn't until I was going through a divorce, and my now husband at the time was also going through a divorce, and we found out we were pregnant, that I just remember dropping to my knees on the floor of my apartment in Colorado and just weeping. God, I obviously can't, you know, I don't know what I'm doing, and I can't do this on my own. And it was like that change. It just changed. There was just this peace that, I mean, didn't have anywhere to go. I knew I needed to go home. You know, is my family going to take me in? I'm going through a divorce. I'm pregnant with a still married man's baby. You know, what's going to happen? And I remember all these questions were going through my head, but I just had this peace and this hope, knowing God gave me this baby. This, you know, some people would call it a mistake. To me, He was the greatest gift that God could have ever given me. And that in that moment, I remember just feeling His mercy. Look at what I've done with my life, and you've not only saved me, but you have given me the gift of a baby.
Yes.
And I couldn't get over the overwhelming sense of love that I felt in that moment, and that I continue to feel. And just His mercy. He's just so merciful, and He just pursues us.
Yes, He does.
And one of my favorite verses is, you know, while we were still sinners, He died
Yes.
for us.
Yes.
You know, I put Him on that cross, my sin, and He knew who I was going to be and all the things I was going to do, and
Yes.
He still chose to die for me.
Yeah.
That's just mind-blowing.
That's really powerful too. Now, how long? This sounds like it's fairly recent, or was this?
I was 25, yes, so the last 8 or 9 years.
Okay. So it's been like 8 or 9 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I love it. When you said, I cried out to him, right? And I just felt that peace. And I really want our audience to know, and I'm trying to keep the tears back myself too, that he says if you call on me, I will answer, right? And doesn't matter what situation we're in. And sometimes there's self-condemnation, there's a lot of things that are going on, but if we just call on his name, that to me, if you're watching and you don't know the Lord, I would challenge you, especially if you're in a tough place in your life. It doesn't matter if you're not in a tough place, but if you just do that, if you just call on him, and that is why we know he's real. It's not about, we read all 66 books of the Bible and we went to Bible college and or somebody said, because look, you were raised in the church. You said, I knew everything. Went to youth camp. I knew it all. I could quote it verbatim, Genesis, Exodus, right? I mean, but you said it wasn't personal. And I think that is really something that I would love our audience to hear, that he is a personal God. There's no other God out there. No other God out there that is personal, that is omnipotent, all-powerful, that is omniscient, all-knowing, and that is omnipresent everywhere at the same time. He could be in Colorado and in Chicago, and in Lebanon, which is my background, all at the same time, right? So how did you get connected to Faith Acres?
So a friend of mine that I had met, she owned a shop in the town I used to live in. She kept talking about this woman, Jody, and Faith Acres. And this woman is just amazing. And her house, her garage is now like a shopping center. You can go and get food in her garage. Liz, it's crazy. She kept talking about this woman. And to be honest, I was like, I didn't know what to expect, so I was like, yeah, I'll go with you, sometime. I mean, it was like months that she tried to get me to go. And I'll never forget, it was about 4 years ago this month. It was April, and she texted me. She said, I'm coming to get you at 4 o'clock, and we're going to Faith Acres. I'm taking you to meet Jody, and you're gonna come with me. So I'll never forget pulling up to the house. All these people are there. This truck is there. The garage door is open, full of food and refrigerators, and we walk in, and Jody got up from behind her desk, and my friend introduced me, and next thing you know, literally it was like an hour and a half later, we were still standing there talking as if we'd known each other, like you said, like if we were best friends and we just hadn't seen each other in 5 years. It was crazy. Just getting to know her and her heart, and I just remember thinking, this is amazing. Like, this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
She literally is the hands and feet of Jesus. She's doing what the Lord has instructed us to do. She's taking care of the homeless and the poor and the orphans and the widows, and I want to be a part of this.
Wow.
Sign me up. And she did.
I did that day. It was so sweet because I recruited her that day. And she's like, well, I'd like to volunteer. And she says, but I have kids. I'm like, bring them, bring it on. And so it was great because, the next time she came, she was already volunteering, helping you help others in need. And what a blessing. Yeah.
So the two of you both experienced being on the side of receiving the resources, but now you're on the side of giving resources. And talk about that. What does that feel like, Cassie? Tell us what it's been like for you.
I can honestly say it's just such a blessing to be able to give. I've been to food pantries where they hand you a box, or you wait in a line, or you're a number, and it's a very degrading feeling. And so I love the fact that we're a family. We're there to help each other. And when we come to Faith Acres, I can donate household items that I don't need, knowing that it can benefit somebody else. I volunteer my time, and I even am a financial partner. Monthly I donate, because I just think that if everybody does realize that they have something to give, we can all benefit, you know. It's not
Is
too
there,
small.
so having been or being a volunteer, is there a story that kind of sticks out to you? Yeah, and she's like, yeah, oh yeah.
I think there's one that always comes back to me, and it's that I brought in a box of baby shoes one day. They had been in storage for years, but I had a big box of baby shoes because, you know, when the babies are growing so fast, they barely get a chance to wear them all. They were in storage, and the person said, "You need to get your stuff out of my storage." So I'm like, okay, I'll find a place. I'll bring it to Faith Acres. I brought a box of baby shoes in one day, and I said, "Here, Jody, look what I have." And she said, "Well, there's a baby here right now." She was talking with a couple. They had a little child, and it's his birthday. And then they went into the box, and they just were able to pick out all these shoes that were in brand new condition, and I had such joy from that.
Yeah.
So I really feel it's, you know, we receive so many wonderful things at Faith Acres, but it is more blessed to give
Yes,
than receive.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
having both of those doors open is,
And it
that's
was
where
neat
it's
because
at.
the family that was there needed shoes. They needed that for their child, and so it was wonderful. She brings it in, and they were able to receive.
Right now, you're actually going to see a video of another Faith Acres story.
I'm suffering some illnesses myself, and I have a daughter that was born with illnesses. And well, it's really hard because I had to stay home and be a homeschooling mom to take care of her, so I had to leave my career as a certified nursing assistant. I did that for 6 years, and I met my husband, and we've been together for 11 years now. And I was already a made family. I was single mom for 11 years, 2 boys. And when I miscarried and I moved over to Wakanda and I learned about Faith Acres and they helped me with nutrition, I decided, you know, that to be at home wasn't just enough. I wanted to supply my family with other types of nutrition. And I knew the importance, so I asked my husband, can we get better food? And he goes, well, we are barely making it. So we had to rely a lot on Faith Acres because 2 jobs, he's working, and having a family of 6 is hard to bring that food into the home, especially quality food and like coconut water or organic beef or whatever it is. You know, we need to have some supplement, some help.
I grew up in the local community. I am a college graduate and I have a degree in dental hygiene with a bachelor's in healthcare management. I actually work a full-time job as a hygienist and I work a part-time job as a hygienist. I am a single mom and I'm raising a 9-year-old boy by myself, and that's one of the reasons why I was in need of coming to Faith Acres. Even though that I'm working, it's difficult to make ends meet some weeks. So this place has been able to help me to provide for my son in the way that I would like to.
I heard about Faith Acres through Harvest Bible Church. I was there one day when the sharing was happening, and I had questions about why is this table full of food here, and are you guys collecting food? And they said, no, we actually are having the Faith Acres Foundation come and they give us food for whoever wants it and needs it. And I was like, well, I need food. I want to know more about this pantry. And so I grabbed food that day and they gave me the information.
A childhood friend who I go to church with told me about Faith Acres. She knew that my family was in need and she brought me here to introduce me to Faith Acres.
In 2009, I had a stillborn child, and that's when I moved to Wakanda, near where Faith Acres is. And I lost that baby, and it really got me thinking maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I didn't know what it was. And it helped me to learn from Faith Acres the nutrition value, what it can do for people. And I was trying to have another baby, and the nutrition coach there helped me, guide me along what I should do to eat and to nourish my body so that I can have a better quality of life and maybe probably get pregnant again. And sure enough, I got pregnant and got a healthy child.
Faith Acres has provided my family with not only food, clothing, household items, but also a place where we can volunteer and we have a sense of community, and we just feel very loved every time we come here.
I wanted to help them prosper, and I thought that if I give of donations, money, time, of my talent, that it would help in some way. So right now I'm volunteering by offering my services as a face painter, and I've done other things in the past, like fold clothing in the Sharing Clothing Pantry. I've put food away. I've done whatever I can, and they deserve it because they give so much to everyone.
I was a receiving guest for many years. I came here with my children, and one day Jody had asked me, would I be interested in helping out? There was a need, and I was more than ready to be able to be a part of this community and be able to give back.
One time I was sick at home and I couldn't get to Faith Acres, and I had a dear friend of mine who also volunteers and is part of Faith Acres. She decided, hey, I can help your family out. I can bring food over. And to my surprise, I didn't tell her that I needed coconut water, and she came with a box and there was coconut water in there, and I was like so blessed because I felt I needed that kind of nourishment. And so that was a blessing to me.
When my son was turning 1 year old, I wanted to have a backyard party for him, and the party was going to be on a Saturday. It was Friday, and I realized that I didn't have money to be able to afford to have the party. I came to Faith Acres that day, and one of the volunteers had just asked me how I was doing, and I just shared with them what was happening in my life. Well, they had said to me how that particular day there was a shipment that had come in. It was hamburgers, hot dogs, hot dog buns, hamburger buns, ketchup, mustard, relish, and even a birthday cake, cupcakes, and a present that was totally suitable for my 1 year old son. And that was one of my favorite stories because I knew at that point God was watching out for both my son and I.
When I first learned about Faith Acres and I was coming here to get food, I had a burden in my heart because I had just lost a child. I was 7 months pregnant when she was born, stillborn. So I had that desire to have a healthy baby for once, because all my children had something go wrong, either genetically, physically, or mentally. They were not at their 100%. And I wanted this pregnancy to be different, and I came here with that burden, and I asked the health coach here about nutrition. One of the things that made this happen was that my daughter, who was born with a congenital disorder, adrenal disorder, was taking one of the foods source vitamins that they had put out there for free, and I was like, her blood work is perfect. I don't understand what happened, what's in this stuff. So I went to the food coach and I asked, what did I just give my daughter? And they were like, well, you gave her nutrition. And I'm like, well, yeah, but my daughter's blood work came out perfect, and they had told me she would have to be on different medicine for some other reason, and this just changed everything. And not only did I see that change in her life, but eventually they helped me and guided me through nutrition, and I was able to have a baby who came out healthy 100%. And she's right here with us. Her name is Natalie, and she's my rainbow baby because she came right after my stillborn baby.
So we just got done listening to one of Faith Acres' faith stories, and I'm going to go back to Liz here because we just heard Cassie talk about how she really got connected. So she was a recipient of these resources and then a volunteer on the giving end. And so what has that been like for you, Liz?
I think, well, the best part, I think, for me with this whole experience with Faith Acres is what it's teaching my children. You know, we had to go to a food pantry years ago. I had three little ones, and I was pregnant with number 4. And my husband was working, and he was out of town, and we had no food. And I'll never forget pulling up. It was raining. It was 5 o'clock at night. The line was out the door, and the door was locked. And they don't open the door until a certain time, and then everyone files in. And I remember pulling up, wanting to leave, but knowing I have to, you know, we need food.
Right.
And the kids asking, you know, what are we doing here? Why are we here? It was about 3 hours from start to finish. And I just remember feeling so humiliated at the whole process. And I remember calling my husband saying, you know, we got food and I'm so grateful, and I'm trying not to be prideful, but I can't ever do that again. It was just so humiliating. So when I experienced Faith Acres, I was like, oh, like, how is this not all over the world? Like, how are they the only people that thought of this? This is awesome, because we were able to go and, you know, like Cassie was saying, I bring items from the house that we're not going to use anymore, and I'm able to give. The kids are able to give their clothes when they've grown out of them. I mean, it goes without saying, oh, this is going to Faith Acres. We have a pile in a room that's the Faith Acres pile, and every Friday when we go, is there anything in the pile to take to Faith Acres? So, you know, the kids being able to volunteer and give their time and not get paid, but think that that's normal. And I think that's what I love, is that we're working. You know, and trust me, they put those kids to work. I mean, my 3-year-old has been out there shoveling and pulling weeds and breaking down boxes. I mean, they don't care what age you are. You're at Faith Acres, you're going to get to work.
Yep, I always say, welcome to Faith Acres, we're going to get to work.
Yes, and I love that.
Right.
So, you know, it's a good feeling that I can do that with my kids. It's something that we can experience together, and we're always going to be able to look back. And I mean, that's just what we do on Fridays. We know we don't schedule anything on Friday because we're going to Faith Acres.
That's great. That's so great. I love that. Thanks for sharing that, Liz. And so we haven't yet introduced to you Maricela. So Maricela, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So glad that you're here, and want to hear a little bit about your faith walk, and then how you became involved with Faith Acres and your experience as well. So tell us about your faith walk.
Well, it was about 5 years. We came to Christ through a relative of ours to this another church, and then, but for so many years I've always been driving to the church that we attend now, and it always grabbed my attention. Like, one day I will go there, one day, and so we left. Then we changed churches. We started going there, but I came to Christ because of my relationship. I mean, we've been together for so long. It was just like broken, and just went through so much, and I was just like hit bottom rock. I'm like, I just don't know what to do. We tried counseling with relatives and like the therapies, and
It just wasn't
it
working.
working at all. And if I'm like, this is it, and I've always heard Christ, and like, so I'm like, I just said, I give my heart to you. Like, I need help. I can't do this no more. And then the good part is that we both went in together. He like saw something in me and saw a difference, and he wanted that. And
Nice.
we did go
Yes.
together at the church that we attend. And I mean, it's still we're still working on our relationship because this relationship is hard, but we're in the same page and the same team, and like we follow God, and like
Yes.
He lift each other up,
Yes.
scripture, and like
Yes, that's really
guidance.
powerful, right?
So I am
he
thankful
saw a
for that.
change in you, is what you said, right? And something that you said that I think Liz said it, and maybe Cassie said it as well, but there was, I gave my heart, right? There was a surrender. And that's what's beautiful about the Lord, right? Like, he doesn't just go in there and say, give it to me, right?
No.
But he kind of woos us better than any man could ever woo us, right?
Yes.
And then you surrendered your heart to him, and then your partner, who is now your husband,
yes, now we're married.
it saw that change in you, and now you're both serving God together. And yeah,
Yes.
you're right. It's always a work in progress, right? God, we die
Right.
daily, right?
Yes.
So, how did you get connected to Faith Acres?
The same church. Then we met through a friend, a couple at the church kept saying, meet Jody and Jeff and me, like, and then after they introduced us to them, and that's how we met.
Okay. And so what was it? Why were they trying to get you to meet Jody and Jeff?
Well, we were going through some financial and like struggles at that time, and then a little bit. I was working at some point, but then I had to stop working. The kids were needed more attention. They were getting sick, too much like sick,
Sure.
and
They needed mom.
yes. So then I was started to stay home. They knew kind of our situation, and that's how we came. And then we met Jody and Jeff.
Okay. And so what's that relationship like?
Well, we would need another whole show for that. But you know what? I love, Marcella would come all the way from Palatine all the way into McHenry. I mean, so she hiked out with the kids. And one of the things that, and I may cry a little bit
That's
here.
all right.
But
Crying
the
is
beautiful
allowed.
thing is, Marcella came and she's one hard worker. She's such a hard worker. A lot of people think, well, if you go to a food pantry, you don't work and that. Well, all the gals here do side jobs and work and help, and now also give back to even Faith Acres. But immediately she became our bilingual interpreter.
I love that.
Literally, I needed that, and she did that. And then the other thing is, Marcella has learned how to work in every one of the areas, in the food area, in the clothing area. Now she's helping us market some of the items that come in, to bring in donations and all that kind of stuff. And we wrote a Faith Walk story because, remember the Faith Walk story we wrote? Because her son used to go to their refrigerator and there was no food. Remember that?
Yeah, we were in a tight budget weekly.
And there was no food in the refrigerator.
Hardly like, I would stretch it like, see like the fruits and vegetables, like more of the produce and like
Right.
certain. We had to get creative
Yeah.
for certain.
Yeah. And so that was one of the, realizing that it's a struggle out there for the working class.
Yes.
Poor. There's a whole new line of people that it's called the working class, where you have a part-time or 2 part-time jobs or 3 part-time jobs. And you're trying to choose between, for me, I was trying to choose between, okay, I've got 3 kids with allergies, so, and back then the specialty foods, okay, and trying to get my child a braces. And I used to walk through Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and Costco saying, Lord, how are we supposed to eat healthy when it's so expensive, right?
Right.
Never realizing that we would go pick up the waste from Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Costco, Fresh Market, Fresh Time, and all those places. Go shop there. Guys, shop there. They are incredibly generous with their waste, and we call it waste, but it's not. It's just close to
Right.
expiration
Right.
food.
Right.
And we take that and we get it back out to families. And but we also invite the families in, and there at Faith Acres, you don't have to volunteer to receive. Giving your time and your talents and your treasure, it's a blessing.
Yes.
It's an opportunity, and even when you walk in, like Elizabeth's story, she never wanted to go back there. So we always say, guys, what do we want this to look like? Because this is us. This is us. Here I was running a food pantry, okay? But my husband and I come into financial crisis. Literally the week we put the Faith Acre sign, the majority of our income went belly up, our investments went belly up. It was like a Job story with finances. And we're like, oh my goodness, we just bought this $500,000 house in this property, and what are we gonna do now?
Yeah.
But even when we were rescuing food, we weren't using it. I was still going in, buying food, because I didn't even know when it was my time to receive.
Yes.
I didn't know when to start receiving,
Sure.
right? And so that's the beauty of the story. And I love it what you say, Marcella. She never knew she could manage.
She is a fabulous manager.
I never knew that I had
So what is it like for you in this role that you're in, Maricela?
different, like discovering like talents that I didn't know I had. Managing like
Tell me.
different.
What are you're managing, like different projects or different areas?
Well, first I was in sorting the food or whatever came in, and then I was showing people. Well, not, I wouldn't say managing, like, but just showing them, guiding them, like what to do and
Like a
how
crew
to do
leader,
it.
a crew
like,
leader.
And I didn't know I had that. And they would come and like ask me. I'm like, okay, I'll show you in this, and just telling them what to do, and like.
I love that because this is even stirring up the gifts in the in those who are choosing to be a part of this. The gifts of God that are in us, those gifts are perfect, right? When God gives us a gift, it's perfect, but we have to grow in those gifts. We have to, discover that those gifts are there, and a man's gift makes room for him. And so your gift has made room for you in this ministry, right? You're probably the quietest one that we've had so far, but yet it's like I can almost see you wanting to explode. Kind of. Y yo puedo hablar en español también, pero para este programa no podemos. I just told her that I could speak in Spanish too, but for this program we can't do it, because I bet she'd be flowing. Right?
You know what? Marcella the girls make a great leader because they've learned to become great servants.
Yes, that's
and
right.
that's a key. I mean, you think about it. Jesus,
right.
What was Jesus doing the last 12 hours before his death?
Yes.
He was serving the disciples. He was
That's right.
washing their feet.
Yes.
And one of the things is, and there again, when we have volunteers from all different races and religions, like I said, people,
Yes.
atheists that come and volunteer. But one of the things in each of us is that learning to take care of another
That's right.
person,
That's
learning
right.
to care, and in a selfie generation, selfish generation,
true.
they're children. My children are older now, but with these children come to Faith Acres and we just love it.
Yes, I know. I didn't want to say that because I'd be revealing my age too, but I'm like, oh, they're just like little babies. Right?
Yeah.
But that's so true, and thank God for the mentorship, right? The Bible says the older shall teach the younger, and I am such a proponent of that, and I feel like that lacks too. But I do believe that we're living in a time where we're going to see this kind of a, how there was Mary and Elizabeth, and they both got pregnant at the same time, but one was young and one was older, but they came together. This powerful connection between the younger and the older, because we both have something to give each other.
Yes.
Right? Because when Elizabeth saw Mary, that baby inside of her leaped, right? They needed each other. So it's just so powerful. So what else do you want to tell me about your involvement with this ministry? Liz, you got something? Is there a story? Is there something that I know your children are being blessed through this, but is there something that you want to share with us about your connection here?
Oh, there's so much. I don't know what to pick. I would say, another thing that I'm so grateful for is the friendships that I've been able to make. I met Marcella when I started 4 years ago, I think, and Jody's not kidding. This woman, she's soft-spoken, but boy, give
There's
her
a
a
beast
test.
inside,
I'm
right?
telling you.
Yeah.
give her a task to do. She's very, she's very determined. She is a selfless worker. She works hard. She's very giving. And I appreciate that because I feel like, especially at a place like Faith Acres, they need that. You need people, volunteers that are willing to give sacrificially when it hurts.
Yes.
Because, we give and it doesn't hurt, then okay, are you really giving? There's times she's there super late, there's times that it isn't convenient, but all of the volunteers that are there, will come rain or shine. You need us, people show up, and it's amazing to see, people show up to get things done. Jody will send out a text or an email or have a meeting, and we need this, and this is coming up, and just to see that, there are people left in the world that care,
Yes.
and that will get together,
Yes.
and she's one of my best friends now, and a couple of the other volunteers, we
so
connect,
good.
and our kids are, being raised together, and just to find other women, like you were saying, a mentor. I was telling Marcella earlier, Jody is that to me, Titus 2 woman.
That's right.
You hear
That's
about
right.
I can look at her, she's taught me so much about being a wife and a mother, telling me things I haven't wanted to hear sometimes, as she's watched me grow and seen me interact with my kids and my husband, and I need that. And
Yes.
that's
good.
I mean, how great. I'm volunteering, I'm receiving, I'm giving, and I'm being mentored by a
That's
godly
beautiful.
woman. It doesn't
Yes.
get better than that.
Maricela, were you going to say something? I kind of saw that you wanted to.
Oh yeah, just friendship that we've built, and we just take care of each other. Liz had a baby, and what I wanted to do, start this new thing, try out too, is meals.
Doing meals, yeah.
Or if anybody gets sick, in the Faith Acres volunteers, just trying to take care of each other. It's meals, keep them in mind.
Yes.
Build
How
that
has
relationship.
this changed your life?
How did it change? In so many ways.
Tell me one or
Just-
two of them.
Build up my skills. I would say my work skills. My how do you say?
Because you could put this on a resume anytime.
Oh yeah,
my-
all of them, all the girls,
Yes,
all the girls. That's
self-esteem.
what we tell them. You can put you guys have been working and helping, and this is building your resumes.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Just my self-esteem. I can do this. This is possible. So I'm being mentored by a good, godly woman.
It's fun.
Yeah,
I've learned so much
It's really fun.
from her.
And you know what? Sometimes people will walk into church, and there again, Faith Acres. It doesn't matter whether you go to church or not. But what does it look like? What does doing what Jesus calls us to do to help feed or clothe someone or to help someone? And that's the beauty of it. See, what we're experiencing is the miracle of sharing. And when you share something, it multiplies. Okay, but it's not just tangible things. It's actually the truth of the scriptures, or it's the truth, or a smile, and just helping that person. And when people come in, they were created in the image of God. They're not just
That's
coming
right.
for food
That's
or
right.
clothing. This person that is in front of us was literally created in the image of God.
That's right.
And that is what Jesus was worth dying for.
That's right.
And raising again. And so that's the value of, I always ask people when they come to Faith Acres, even we take in community service people too, from the community that have to fulfill their service hours, and I always ask them this one thing: if money was no option, what would you be doing with your life?
Yes.
Because I want to find out their passions, their goals, their plans, and that's what has created 95% on the farming site, giving back and volunteering.
Yes.
Because it wasn't just about handing someone, like your fish or your there. It was finding out, who are you? Because they're hurt and they're broken. And those eyes that you see on the nightly news of someone that's gotten a snapshot at the police station?
Sure.
We see that walking in constantly to food pantries. But how did they get here? They've got value.
That's right.
And they need a place to belong. and they flourish.
Yes.
We flourish. We flourish together.
Yes.
So it's fun.
Yes. Well, I'm just as inspired by part 2 of the program as I was with part 1 of the program. So for those of you who might be tuning in now, this was a 2-part program about Faith Acres Foundation and the great work that they are doing to feed and clothe and network if that's necessary. The founders, Jody and Jeff Clow, who spoke quite a bit on part 1 of the program, and then in this program, a great opportunity to hear from people who have both been on both sides. They've been recipients, and now they're on the other side giving. And as one of them said, it is more blessed to give than it is to receive. And so thank you for tuning in. If you don't know Jesus, invite him into your life. As you heard us say earlier, it's just simply calling on his name, a willingness to surrender and allow him to come in. And as you heard testified right here, your life will change. There's just no doubt. Try it, believe it, and try it. That's the challenge. And we want you to know, as always, that God loves you with an everlasting love.
Faith Acres was really birthed out of, Jeff and I had served at a local church, and we had helped a lot of single moms and single dads through a daycare, and we saw that a lot of families have long-term needs. One of the things we'd do is we had to use a lot of resources. We would have to go to the store and get clothing. We would have to go to the store and purchase the food. We would have to use a lot of the financial means. And when this project started, we'd prayed for a piece of property that we could work together in ministry at, and this piece of property came up, and so we purchased it. And we called it Faith Acres because it was going to take a step of faith for us to purchase this property. One of the things we were asked very early on if we could take in some of this bread. So we did. We took in the bread, and very quickly we saw these families that were coming into our garage to get some bread. And at that time we were just getting a little bit of food from some of the stores. And we just began to pray and say, God, they need some healthy food. They need some fruits and vegetables and meats, and never realizing that we could partner with the Northern Illinois Food Bank, and now hindsight, seeing how this ministry has grown over the years and how the foundation has continued to grow. But it really started for the need of the people that are around us that just need long-term help. And it's not going to be a short solution. And there again, we find it falling into relationships, health, and finances. But our heart's desire, once again, is not to make people the project, but make them part of the family.
When they come here, a lot of times I want to know what their passion is. What do they like to do? I'm not going to put someone, hey, I need you to go weed, I need you to go clean those clothes, and they're never going to come back. So we want to find out what they like to do. Where are you from? What is your passions in life? Because a lot of times people, they want to share those thoughts. They want to say, wow, these people actually care about me. And we do. And we want to put you where your strengths are.
The ministry that happens here and the miracles and the faith walk stories, and I just love how the Lord Jesus is displayed and faith is made alive here at Faith Acres.
I came here with a volunteer. She was my grandson's Cub Scout leader, and she wanted to share this with my family, knowing that we had hardship. And what keeps me coming back is the people who work here and how they care for each other, and they share their love, and they're pretty close-knit.
we would value the investment that you would make into Faith Acres so that we could continue on. We have multiple sharing sites now, and it's growing rapidly, and this Faith Acres Foundation is not going away. We started here with the Sharing Center in the McHenry location, but we began to extend it because there was such a need for it through Lake and McHenry counties, even Cook County. We've actually had organizations come from out of the state to look at the model of what we're running because they've heard about it and they've started Sharing Center in their states.
So come partner with us and be part of the family of Faith Acres. Experience the miracle of sharing, and you will be blessed as well.
I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are God and God alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just want to say that I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign upon the throne, for you are God and God alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just want to say that I love you more than anything. Love me in your arms. You were my shelter from the storm when all my friends were gone. You were right there all along. I've never known a love like this before. I just want to say that I love you more than anything. I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. I love you, Jesus. I worship, I adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more